We look at all of this and we see the aftermath of what happens to an awful lot of people when they're in Love Island, and especially your year. My God, were there millions of eyeballs on you.
Yeah.
But you said it was one of the best decisions you've ever made to go into that villa. Why was that?
I think, obviously, it was an adventure that, like, not many people obviously get to have in the first place. You get to meet amazing people. And it's a summer that, like, not only you always remember, but everyone else always remembers with you as well. So it's just, like, this amazing experience that you'll never forget. So
and that year was, like, it was vintage year.
Yeah, thanks.
No, but it was. Maura and Greg, and that whole year, I mean, I think since then people are sort of like our hate, but everyone that year was just, it was all about Love Island.
But every time I saw you and Amber out, like 6 months later, I'd be like, oh, look at the girls. You know what I mean?
That's so funny, yeah.
Like, it was so, because as you said, you were our summer as well. Everything was like, oh, sure, I did that when they were doing that.
Yeah. It's great. It's mad.
Are you watching any of this season?
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm not watching it religiously,
yeah,
but I'm watching here and there, and I do think it's a really good season. I think they have a great cast, so I think, yeah.
Do you think things have changed and people are more open about their, like, talking about mental health and everything like that?
Oh, 100%.
And like that you didn't do back in the previous series.
Yeah, and I think that's natural because I think as a society we've moved forward to like talking about mental health. So obviously that's going to reflect in TV shows and everyday life. So I think now more than ever, there's massive support when it comes to talent like mental health and also just like universally globally as well.
Because it's interesting, I do think that the viewing public are so much more aware of mental health. We've got the language now when we see something happening, like Jax who left the villa. People were like wondering about his behaviour inside there. But he has left and he said he had his own mental health struggles inside there. Can you understand what that's like when you know you've got cameras all around you? And you're like, just keep it. Did you feel like some days you just had to keep it together?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't actually understand how stressful it is being in there.
Yeah.
Because obviously you see like 45 minutes to an hour and everyone's having a great time or like they're having arguments, but no one understands how stressful it is to be in an environment where, although these people are your friends, they're not like your real friends back home and your real family back home, and you feel like you have no one to talk to, although there's like so many people to. So it's not the same. And I think a lot of people just don't understand how stressful the environment is.
How difficult was it for you to write the book? Because you were saying to us that you cried a lot during this process.
Yeah, so it took me a full 8 months to do it. I wrote most of it in my publication house, so I was doing like 14-hour days. I would go in at about 9 a.m, leave work about 11 p.m. for like 5 days, and like I think the hardest chapter for me to write was my mental health, because when you write you have to keep correcting your own work and stuff like that, and then you're like reliving all your like trauma over and over again. So I say to people it was almost like a therapy session for me, because I really had to like confront my own demons on a piece of paper, keep reading them over and over and correcting them. So yeah, it was a challenge.
Because this is something that, you know, in speaking about trolling, and I thought something was very interesting about it. You're like, I didn't just go into a villa that everyone was watching and then a few people trolled and then my mental health went down the tubes. You went back to when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And you did this without going and talking to family and friends.
Yeah.
This was just you with your experience.
Yeah.
And now everyone you know is going to get to read what it was like for you.
Yeah.
That's like, you've got this nervous smile on your face.
Honestly, because I remember when I even handed in that chapter to my editor, she looked at me and she was like, well, you can you can pull this chapter if you want. I don't know if you'd want to publish this.
Really?
Yeah, and she wasn't sure it was going to go in the book, and I just said, well, if I'm going to talk about mental health, I'm going to be so honest and open, and that's why my mental health chapter is so different to my other chapters. It's written like their diary moment, and you see conversations with my therapist.
Yeah.
And you kind of see me start like from when I was like maybe like 16, the first time I went to the GP, and she was like, I think you're depressed, to the end of literally me closing my chapter and me in my office saying how I feel at that very moment before I end the chapter.
And Yewande, there's obviously going to be a lot of people who watch Love Island and watched you on Love Island, and maybe a lot of young people. What do you hope they'll get from the book?
I think if anyone takes anything away, it would, if it's whether to educate themselves, to find something that they relate with, or it's a conversation with a best friend, I think I'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because your experiences run the gamut, and realising that you had, I think reading, about your struggles with eating and eating disorders, and then the fact that you went into Love Island where everything's about body and looks.
Yeah.
That decision must have been like, it must have. Were you worried about being triggered? Like, were you worried about?
I don't think I really thought about it too much because
Really?
I kind of put it to the back of my head. But I think the thing with people where, like, you know, they have some control over food, whatnot, when they control food.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's about like body image and how you look, but it's really not. I think for me it was about controlling. So it wasn't necessarily like I was worried about how I looked. It was just more of the control aspect for me. So it was like a fight against body and mind all at the same time.
It was something that you could control. You hear it like so many times. I mean, the amount of stuff that you cover in this is
fascinating read.
Oh, thank you.
Fascinating.
You must be so proud of it.
I hope so. I think so. I don't know. It's so weird being like, are you proud of it? It's like because I always look at writing like an art, and people are like, oh, are you proud of your art? It's like, I don't know. You're like, keep looking over it. Like, I hope so, but I don't know. But I don't know. I hope so.
No, yeah.
Hi, I'm just a scientist. I was on Love Island. Now I've written a fantastic book. Like, honestly, thank you for letting us into your life.
No, thank you.
Reclaiming.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Yewande Biala. Thank you.